I have some mixed opinions on the Belgium Grand Prix. On one hand, we saw good battling, nice overtaking, drivers being stupid, but the Belgian Grand Prix was a disaster. And the first reason for the Belgian Grand Prix downfall was the delays. The delays were caused by torrential rain all over the track, and I did some maths. In 2021 and 2023 combined, we had a total of 6 hours of delays. Do you know how much you can do in 6 hours? In 6 hours, you could watch, God forbid, the latest season of Drive to Survive. You could play 2/5 of a game of Monopoly. You could learn how to play a musical instrument, become a more well-rounded person, but instead we watch these well-rounded people waffle in the pit lane. As you can see, I'm a little bit frustrated. But through the boredom of the Belgium Grand Prix, there were some F2 and F3 races, and in the sprint of the F3 there was a driver called Micheal Masi, and Interpool, and he decided to send it around the outside of another F3 driver, eventually resulting in them coming together and both spinning out. But luckily Micheal Masi was okay and he was able to continue with the race. So what do you do once you've had a bit of a shunt, go off the track? You just safely bring it back onto... No. Instead, he channeled his inner Sebastian Vettel and
came back on the circuit like an idiot,
which resulted in him taking out another driver and him praying like Nick the Freeze asking Helmut Marko not to fuck him off halfway through the season. After we got through the F3 terrorism and all the fucking delays, we finally had Formula 1 qualifying on a Friday. And I also have mixed opinions about this sprint format. As much as the sprint is exciting for the drivers, except we only get to see half the fucking laps, the sprint just takes away from the whole of Formula 1. Qualifying is such a prestigious thing. It builds up to the Grand Prix. And I feel like it needs to be done on Saturdays. Because when you do it on the Friday...
who gives a shit?
And second of all, the sprint weekend is just like a small weekend inside the big weekend. Nevertheless, we had qualifying on the Friday. And we had Lando Norris being a melon. Esteban Ocon being a melon. Kevin Magnussen being a melon. And Max Verstappen having a little wobbly on his team radio. Yeah, remember that, Max? Crying, oh, we're only P10. Shut up and get on with it. But I want to take it back to Esteban Ocon being a melon. Because for Lando Norris, it didn't really matter. Cost him a couple positions, but no one really cared. Kevin Magnussen, no one cared because has a shit. But Esteban Ocon had the chance to knock Max Verstappen out in Q2. And do you know the shitstorm that would have caused on F1 Twitter? Sorry, beg my pardon. Not F1 Twitter, F1X. Thanks, Elon. But if Max Verstappen was knocked out in Q2, we would have seen an absolute monumental team radio, which would have been even more sobby than the one he had when he finished P10. And it all comes back to Alpine. Alpine have proven on multiple occasions that they have more pain au chocolat than brain cells. In 2020, they were so shit that Daniel Ricciardo left them and went to rivals McLaren. In 2022, they lost Fernando Sigma Alonso to Aston Martin because they fucked up the driver contracts. And another man they fucked it up with was Oscar Piastri, because Alpine announced that Oscar Piastri would be driving for them in 2023, which Oscar Piastri said, fuck off, no, I'm going to McLaren. Why do they just lose every single person to McLaren? Where was I? Yeah, Alpine are more pain au chocolat than brain cells, because during the weekend, they fired Otmar Safnauer, and instead of announcing it on the Wednesday, like most Formula 1 teams do, so it gets talked about on the Thursday, and then no one gives a shit. Instead, they let it play on poor Esteban Ocon's little French brain, and which knocked him out of Q2. Thank you, Alpine! A quick shout out to Lance Stroll in Q3, who I thought did very well to only finish a second off Fernando Alonso in 9th. So, round of applause to Lance Stroll. But little Lancelot was not done with his expertise, because in Q2 the next day for sprint quali, Lance Stroll was on the mediums on a track that was quite clearly wet, and then proceeded to crash the corner with no name, taking out himself, but more importantly, Sigma Alonso on his birthday. Happy birthday, Alonso! But putting Q2 to a side, in Q3, Oscar Piastri was blitzing it in the middle sector, faster than absolutely anyone, comes across the line and goes onto pole position before the robot denies him about 5 seconds later. But that doesn't matter. It's still a pole position minus Max Verstappen for Oscar Piastri. It's actually getting me thinking, what is it going to take for Max Verstappen to actually not win every single race this season? And then I'm thinking, Osama bin Russell needs to drive his Mercedes straight into the Red Bull, ripping off half the car. But actually, he'd probably just like run it like one of those little kids' cars across the line and still finish 20 seconds ahead of everyone with the fastest lap. But later on Saturday, we were ready for the sprint. Everyone ready, but then we got slapped with delays. But then cars on track. We were ready and then we got slapped with 4 laps off of the race. And I swear to God, Spa-Francorchamps, next time you are walking down a dark alley, look over your shoulder. So once the safety car decided to pull into the pit lane, we had 11 laps instead of 15 laps of racing. And everyone went into the pits except from, oh no, Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen makes a mistake and Oscar Piastri comes out ahead of him. He is leading the race. He then proceeds to call up Fernando Alonso and say, oi, dickhead, shag it into the wall, happy birthday. And now Oscar Piastri is leading under the safety car. The safety car peeled in on lap 5 and Max Verstappen got straight past him, but it was fun while it lasted. But on lap 6 was when everything kicked off because Lewis Hamilton was getting closer to the back of the Red Bull. Couldn't do it into 15. Tried it down the inside of turn 16 at Stavolo, touched the curb, understeers, hits into the Red Bull, and that caused an absolute war on F1 Twitter. Hamilton was given a 5-second time penalty and 2 points off his licence because he clearly touched the curb and understeered into Sergio Perez's side pod. But Lewis Hamilton fans were not happy on F1 Twitter, and I had to write down some of these tweets because they were absolutely hilarious. 70% racing incident, 30% Perez. Penalise Perez. Imagine penalising a driver for this. Unbelievable. How could anyone think this was a Hamilton penalty? I don't know, Stephen. Maybe because we have eyes and we saw the crash. No penalty on the left versus penalty on the right. The FIA are racist. I don't know. It feels like every time there is a collision with Lewis Hamilton, we go full circle and come to the same conclusion that the FIA are racist and Micheal Masi has slayed. 2 drivers going side by side, blah, blah, blah. The FIA may as well be called the Anti-Hamilton Foundation, and that doesn't sound nearly as good as the FIA. What could you even abbreviate that to? The AF. And, okay, this one really pushed me over the line. Right. Can clearly see Perez squeezing Hamilton. Firstly, you're blind, go Specsavers. Secondly, if you want to see Perez pushing someone, look just a race ago in Hungary. Oscar Piastri is on the outside of Sergio Perez. Perez on the inside, squeezes Piastri all the way onto the grass even, resulting in Piastri losing the position. When Oscar Piastri's race engineer asked him,
Oscar, did Perez push you off turn 2? Did you get enough room?
Oscar Piastri then replied with, and that is why he is slowly turning into one of my favourite drivers on the grid, because he is a proper racer. He is honestly the calmest person I've seen in F1 since Micheal Masi, and all you Hamilton fans can fuck off. Abu Dhabi, it was ages ago, get over it. He was the calmest man in the world every single time. I mean, I'm going to throw in some clips here, but Micheal Masi was cold-blooded. He was so calm, so collected. Just watch these.
So, Michael, can I just confirm we can overtake off the track if we're going around the outside of another car, yeah?
No, you can't overtake off the track.
Well, that's what Raikkonen's just done.
Understand?
So it's okay?
No, it's not okay.
But it's okay for Raikkonen?
No, it's not okay for anyone. Go ahead.
Michael, that is all about let them race. That's all about let them race.
Yep, no problems. That's why I'm just having a look at it. Jonathan, there is nothing further than that. Thank you for your input.
Thank you for your receiving it.
My pleasure.
This one, I hope for this person's mental health that they are joking, but it's Sir Lewis Hamilton versus the FIA. F1, Sky Sports journalists, 9 F1 teams, F1 marshals, 19 F1 drivers, George Russell, Mercedes pit crew, and occasionally Mercedes. To be fair, they have got a point with the George Russell one. But while these buffoons were battling on social media about who was right in the crash, I was getting down to the nitty gritty. In the Azerbaijan sprint race 3 months ago, George Russell drove his Mercedes into the side pod of Max Verstappen's Red Bull, resulting in a big chunk of his side pod being ripped off the car. Now, a month later in Monaco, Mercedes reveal their new redesigned side pods. Keep that in mind, that's important. And now cast your minds back to this race, the Belgian Grand Prix, where Lewis Hamilton drives his Mercedes into the side pod of Sergio Perez's Red Bull, tearing out a chunk of the side pod, and this is where it gets spicy. Now, listen in here, because I can't let many other people hear this, but I believe that Mercedes are trying to take out parts of the Red Bull side pod so they can build a car fast enough to challenge Max and Red Bull in Zanvoort, getting a 1-2 for Mercedes and sending the whole of Holland into a Great Depression. Oh my god, I swear to God. Maybe I'm going too far down the rabbit hole, saying that Mercedes are collecting parts of the Red Bull, but if they get a 1-2 at Zanvoort and have a rocket ship, don't tell me I didn't tell you so! I'm going to calm down on the conspiracy theories for the rest of today. No more conspiracy theories for the rest of today. Instead, I'm going to talk about the Belgian Grand Prix national anthem. That was a fucking laugh. Oh my god, this national anthem was incredible. The woman singing the national anthem for the Belgian Grand Prix, I don't know if it might have been a man. It might have been a they. So it was singing the Belgian Grand Prix national anthem, and let's just say the drivers were not holding back. We saw Fernando Sigma Alonso putting on quite a face. You can judge what he means by this. I don't really know. I don't have the qualifications, but I respect it. George Russell wasn't even trying to hold it off like Fernando Alonso. George Russell just couldn't stop it. He was smiling, letting out giggles all over the place. And Lance Stroll as well. Lance Stroll, I respect it. He was using every single fibre in his body to hold him back from absolutely bursting out into laughter. So yeah, that was a laugh. The Belgian Grand Prix national anthem was a laugh. But while I was actually looking at tweets for the LH meltdown, I saw this. A perfectly reasonable tweet about the collision. But I looked a little bit closer and I saw down below it said the date, and then on Earth, and then it got me thinking, why would they need to specify it's on Earth? Because at the end of the day, if you're on Twitter, you're not going to be on the fucking moon, you're going to be on Earth. But then it got me thinking, and I realised, when was the last time we saw Micheal Masi? The last time we saw Micheal Masi was at the Australian Grand Prix. That was almost 4 months ago. He could have gone anywhere, and that's why I've come to the conclusion that Micheal Masi is on Mars. I said I would stop with the conspiracy theories. But no, this isn't a conspiracy theory. Micheal Masi is on Mars and he is planning an alien attack for the 2023 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. In conclusion, Mercedes are planning to make a mosaic of the Red Bull side pod to send Holland into a Great Depression. The FIA are run by dirty racists. Pepe Marti is slowly being possessed by Sebastian Vettel, and Micheal Masi is planning an alien invasion for the second anniversary of the Abu Dhabi 2021 Grand Prix. Spa is wet. Thank you for watching. See you later.